What's up, Springfield Nation? Steve Leslie, YSNLive.com, your home of Springfield local Tiger football, and proud of it. YSN Coach's Corner playoff style, sponsored by WRS Insurance Solutions, a proud sponsor of Springfield football all season. We'll have the game for you on YSNLive.com Saturday night at 7 o'clock as St. Thomas Aquinas invade Springfield Nation again. But proud to be joined again by the head ball coach, Sean Guerriero. Coach, thanks for joining us.
I appreciate you having us for another week, man. Let's keep this thing rolling.
It's nice. The first thing we talked about this, Sean, a little bit on the scoreboard show with Mike Ackelson and Nick Zeronis. 8 teams left. This is really the playoff system the way it's been for the last few years now. 8 teams. What's your thought on that? It's not that the first 2 playoff games were not playoff games, but in the old school system now you're getting in where you voted on things, the coaches voted. I look at the bracket here now, Sean. I think that they pretty well got it right. There's 8 solid football teams left in your region. Talk about that a little bit.
Oh, there's definitely a lot of good football out there. So we just need to make sure in playing these games that mistakes are kind of multiplied or magnified. So we just need to make sure that we clean things up. We don't have missed assignments. Because if you make one big mistake now, it could cost you the game. So we just want to be able to make sure we're paying attention to every detail and crossing our T's and dotting our I's, because that's our kids got to play like that now. They have to understand that obviously with the loss now that we're done, there is no more. You know what I mean? Week 6, 7, 8, or we can play games after. It's going to come to the point now. If we end up losing, that we might be packing it up. So we got to have a little bit of a sense of urgency going into these games and just make sure that we eliminate our mistakes, and when you get your chance as a person to make a play, we need to do so.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. With Coach Guerriero, Coach's Corner, sponsored by WRS Insurance Solutions, proud sponsor of Springfield Local. You had a bye the week last week, Sean. Saturday football game, so a little bit of difference. We'll talk about the game last week against Berlin Western Reserve. Did you see any sluggishness of your football team in that game early with the bye week? Talk about that a little bit.
I don't think so. I think our kids were so excited to play football and come out having that week off that they were ready to go. They were kind of chomping at the bit. So I don't feel our kids were sluggish. I feel like our kids were off that first snap, they were ready to go. And I thought, we knew what Western Reserve was going to do some challenging things to us, and we were able to get a 3. I should say 3 and out. We were able to stop them on a 4th and 1, I think it was. And then offensively, we busted. It had to be like a 65, 70-yard run. I think at that point, our kids were ready to get the train rolling and be able to line up and get this thing moving. So I feel like our kids were anxious and ready to go and happy again. Having home field advantage through this thing is great, but our kids are excited to be able to have another home game and play at home. And I know, again, come Saturday, our kids will be able to, buckle the chin straps and be ready to play another game.
Yeah, there's no doubt they'll be ready to play. St. Thomas Aquinas will invade, Sean, Saturday night games. Do you use the experience that you had as a staff and a lot of these guys playing last year, the long week? Has that been a problem, or have you adjusted things to get this team some similar practice opportunities?
For us, I think we've adjusted pretty well. It's more on, playing on Saturday. What do you do kind of for the weekend? We play on Friday night. We had Saturday and Sunday to bring the kids in and do some stuff. So we're trying to stretch it out here a little bit, and we have the kids coming in real quick. The kids, I guess, that end up playing, we bring that group in and we do a quick run and lift, and we want to make sure that we're getting ice, ice on our bodies and making sure we're taking care of our injuries. I think that's number one. I think I've said this before. I think that's the biggest thing that we learned as a staff, is to make sure we're taking care of our bodies. We need to make sure that we're refreshed in our body. We got good legs by come Saturday, and we got to be able to make sure that we end up kind of preparing ourselves to be able to play 4 quarters. Monday's kind of a day now where it's slowed down. We watch mostly film. We get a hard lift in. So, and then our Tuesday now is, our normal Monday practice, and so we kind of bumped everything upon that. But I feel like the kids have adjusted well. I feel like our staff has adjusted well. To be able to make sure that we're watching enough film and making sure we're trying to get our kids in the best situation to be able to be successful.
Well, you guys are doing a great job with it. A big win last week against Berlin Center West Reserve. Let's talk about that game. We talked on the scoreboard show in watching that football game. You played them once. It was definitely a different football team. I think you said this in the scoreboard show, Sean. That's a big football team. Their offensive line has some people on it. I thought your defense, again, continues week by week to get better, continue to be sound, not a whole lot of mistakes, get a stop. You score offensively real quick. Bo had a good game. The receivers are clicking, the running backs. But I was impressed by the way that your kids came out and handled things. And also a tip of the cap to Berlin Center Western Reserve. That's a good football team that represented themselves very well against the number 1 seed, a big football team. That's a team I'm sure I wanted to get your thoughts. An offensive line like that is good for your defense to see if you want to get to this state championship game and bring one home. Talk about facing an offensive line like that.
Well, they were huge up front. I think they averaged probably about 260, 270. And I think that they might be actually the biggest team that we end up facing through this. I think Norwayne is a little bit that's still in the playoff system that are kind of built like that. And with that, I mean, their skill kids are also, you know what I mean, big too, to where we got to make sure that our defense is rallying to the football and wrapping up and just making sure we're more of a team defense type atmosphere where, I mean, if we get some kids in a one-on-one situation, I don't know how successful we'll end up being, but to face that right now going into the playoffs, I definitely think it sets, us up for success and being able just to be able to line up and bang with those guys for 4 quarters.
Yeah, that was a great opportunity.
With some reserve and Coach Lou does a good job. And like I said, I think he kind of went back and forth to that tight formation and some spread stuff. Our defense, I think, adjusted well. And we try to make sure that we're learning from our experiences. I mean, learn from week 2 and what they did and slowed the pace down. And they were productive in moving the ball. So I feel like our kids adjusted to that. I feel like our kids, we're able to be successsul. But they did move the ball at times on us. And I definitely think that was up front. But for us to be able to play 4 quarters like that and still be a little bit more of the dominant team. I'm happy with the progression that we ended up making from week 2.
Yeah, we're with Coach Guerriero, Coach's Corner, WRS Insurance Solutions, the proud sponsor. They'll host St. Thomas Aquinas Saturday night at 7:00. We'll have it on YSN Live. I wanted to ask you, is that one of the things you and your staff has prepared for, the slow down game, the grinded out style? I mean, you've seen this pretty much all year, but it seems like as you continue, that's the team's MO against you guys, is to try to play it 10 yards at a time, a first down at a time, to keep the offense off the field. Does it get frustrating at times for this football team as an offense, I guess, is my question?
I don't think so. I think right now, and you just said it, the teams are so good right now, they're in it because they're going to do their own thing. I think if you get to the point now where a team's going to try to slow it down, I know how we play. We want to play up tempo. If we were a team, I don't know if I'd want to play like that right now. Going into the playoffs and try to take us out of our game. And I think right now you're going to see, teams are going to do what they do and they're going to line up and you just got to try to out execute or making sure, even adjustment wise. I don't think you can make, a ton of adjustments right now going from week to week, because we got to make sure we put our kids in a good situation, but you still kind of got to stay with your base, whether that's establishing the run or lining up in a 3-4 or whatever you might do. I don't think teams are going to try to change a whole bunch on what they do. They're going to stay with their strengths of their offense, or their defense, and come at you and just try to end up beating you there.
We're with Coach Guerriero, Coach's Corner, sponsored by WRS Insurance Solutions. Let's dive in. St. Thomas Aquinas, Coach. They play a good schedule. I looked at their schedule. That they do play some people. Talk about them a little bit. But before that, health-wise of your football team, how did you come out after the Berlin game? Talk about that a little bit.
We had no major injuries. Like I said, we try to clean up our bumps and bruises. And I think our kids, we talk about this all the time, but after practice, if we need to go see the trainer or get a little bit of extra, work done with them, our kids do that. I couldn't say a lot, of bad things about our kids. They're going to put in the extra time and do what they need to do to be successful there. So our kids are doing, doing the extra things to make sure that they're ready we really don't have any injuries, you know what I mean, upon that where we're going to hold out anybody or do anything, you know what I mean, crazy going in from this week to last week. St. Thomas Aquinas and seeing what they do on film. They're actually, you mean, they're big up front. I think they're probably going to be the most athletic team overall. They got a ton of different athletes where they kind of, I think they played 3 different quarterbacks last week where they try to get their athletes the ball in space, and they're going to do some unique things there. I think they only threw the ball last week 5 times. So they're going to try to do some stuff and run some unbalanced stuff and try to get you outflanked. So our kids need to make sure that we need to get lined up correctly. If we need to bump or slide or do some things there off the motion or what we need to do, it's a little bit more of a mental game with our kids and making sure we know our checks or any type of adjusting we need to do from a formation and you line up to end up switching. So I think our kids will be okay there. I think they do a good job with that mental wise. And again, with Coach Slopek defensively does a good job. And even with Coach Brungard offensively, we'll make a couple adjustments of what we do. But between Bo and the guys, we'll get ourselves in the right look or the look we want to get us in from how they line up and what they do. But there are athletes all over the field. So we just need to make sure that we get lined up and we're gap sound defensively and run to the football and offensively. It's be kind of a unique thing. Usually we see a little bit more zone. They're almost, you know what I mean, all cover one. They're going to get lined up and play base D, and they're going to have their 6 guys in the box, and they're going to blitz and kind of stunt and do some things. So I think it'll be interesting for what's going to come on Saturday. So we just need to make sure that we play our game and not try to do anything crazy.
Well, there you have it, Springfield Nation, right from the head ball coach's mouth. I'll take my chances, give Bo a little time to throw the rock. I like hearing that. We wish you nothing but the best of luck Friday night. Obviously, another great opportunity for the Springfield community, for this football team to play another home game. That's huge. We've talked about that. But again, for any fans that maybe this is the first time, how special is it to play home games, playoff home games at Springfield for these kids?
Again, for this whole situation and how it's been with just having, 6 games collectively and it's us splitting at 3-3. I was talking to Austin Tyndall and Clayton Nesbitt after practice today, and I'm like, you guys know how fortunate of the situation we are, but to continue that we don't have to travel, that we get the home crowd every week. And those guys, those two were kind of smiling from ear to ear just because of the opportunity that we're getting right now and going again from all the hoops that we had to jump through and stuff. What a reward that our kids are seeing right now. Going 6-0 and winning the league and doing those type of things. So I'm really happy for our kids and the opportunity that they're getting right now to kind of, just get a couple more home games in front of their families. And I think that's pretty important to them.
Well, let's do it. We wish you nothing but the best of luck against St. Thomas Aquinas. I have a question for Coach Guerriero tonight. I'm curious to see how you're going to answer this because there's a lot of way you can go with this. I'm going to ask you, if you could meet a college football coach you've never met before, who would it be and why?
Oh my gosh, that's kind of an interesting question because
this was a hard. I kind of figured that there's a lot of ways you can go. You've coached a long time. Is there somebody out there you'd love to meet and talk to that you haven't never met?
Well, it's kind of weird that you say that. You might just stump me because we still do a lot of different things with our staff where we go to the Ohio High School Coaches Association where we get to meet and talk to a lot of Big Ten coaches. Usually, in the past of spring ball, I used to try to get as many coaches as we can to go visit somebody for a spring and kind of see, a couple practices and mostly the college coaches are great.
Right.
I would guess I've never met Nick Saban. I would think for him to be a coach and be on top for as long as he had, I guess I would have to kind of pick him just because of the longevity that he's had and obviously with the program that you built, they just keep bringing guys in, year after year. And even now, I think college football is getting a lot harder because those guys, they can leave so soon where before, you had guys used to stay for 4 years and how he pumps out athletes and recruits, left and right. I would think that's the guy I would have to end up sitting down and seeing just, how he's kept the program, on top for so long and being so productive. I would probably have to try to sit down with Coach Saban and try to pick his brain a little bit.
That's a great answer. And you know what? You have done that at Springfield. You continue to put out quality football teams every year. And better yet, I get to talk to these guys every week. Quality kids, quality student athletes that represent your football team in Springfield High School and their community very well. So we'll have it Saturday night, 7 o'clock, ysnlive.com, St. Thomas invades. Sean, best of luck to you, to staff, to kids. Go put that black jersey on and have some fun and run around the football field and play the way Springfield has been playing, and we'll talk again next week.
Hey, thanks very much. I appreciate you having us.
All right. Thanks, Sean. Have a good night.